This is 702.
It is 9 minutes to 7 o'clock, and former political analyst Lukhona Mnguni is entering the race for Johannesburg mayor under the banner of Rise Mzansi. Now, Lukhona is known for his sharp analysis. We've had him on the show many times. His sharp analysis on the political scene and has often singled out those accused of corruption or maladministration. This year's municipal election is very important as cities battle for services, with Joburg considered to be bankrupt. They've had this whole thing with Eskom. They owe them about 5.3 billion rand. Lukhona joins us now. Hi, welcome to 702, Lukhona. Good to chat to you on the other side of the spectrum now. Not the journalism or analyst side, the other side. Welcome.
No, good morning to you, Ray. Good morning to the listeners of 702. And it's really great to chat to you from the other side.
All right, why enter into politics? Was it frustration because you thought to yourself nothing's changing? Why politics?
Well, I think all of us at some point should aspire to serve our country, particularly in public service. There should be a point in our time, whether that is through the civil service in the sense of the bureaucracy or in terms of political leadership. However, what has happened in this country, because of the sheer, death of politics, what has happened is that politics has become unfashionable. We have ceded the space of politics to people who believe that they are career politicians, and then what they've done is to close off the space to people like myself, yourself, to say that no, we must focus on the things that we have chosen to do, as though we don't enjoy, the rights that are enshrined in our constitution, rights that were fought for, that any one of us can actually stand for office. And if you interpret those rights properly, then nobody is deprived at all when the time is right. And you talk about, is it out of sheer frustration? I think I've been vocal about the quality that is deteriorating in terms of political leadership. And if the quality of politicians is deteriorating in the country, who then is this person who must at least attempt to fill up that space or level up that space? And I think I'm throwing my hat in the ring, partly because I'm convinced that I am at a right place in my life where I've accumulated enough of experience, accumulated enough of networks, enough of legitimacy, particularly within the society of the city of Johannesburg.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the city of Joburg. I alluded to the fact that the city is bankrupt. They're battling for money. They're trying to borrow money. Eskom wants to switch the lights off. How are you going to fix this mess?
Well, by firstly providing leadership that has a commitment to fixing the issues that are there in Johannesburg. And I'm running this campaign, and we need to vote out the thieves, vote Amasela out. We need to clean up the city of Joburg, clean up its finances, clean up the governance issues, clean up the streets of Johannesburg. Because if you don't do those things, then of course you need to have water in Johannesburg, because you can't clean without water, isn't it? So you need to have water so that you can clean. And because if the city is not clean, if the city can't have water, if the finances are in disarray, there is absolutely no way you can actually provide service delivery. But also you need to be an incorruptible leader.
Sure.
Some people can't come out and stand tall and say, I am incorruptible. Because if you are not incorruptible, then you provide gateway for all sorts of leakages. Because part of the problem is not that there's no money in the city, it's because it is leaking because of corruption, it is leaking because of incompetence, it is leaking because there's no cost efficiency in how we deliver services.
So let me ask you this. City Power, they were in the news for the wrong reasons again this last week. And would you scrap a City Power? Would you take these entities and think, right, let's put them to one side? I know Action SA has spoken about that, some of the other parties as well. How would you deal with a City Power?
Well, the entities in Joburg are actually a misnomer. There is no metro that is governed the way in which Joburg is. And I've spoken to some people who were there when this entire framework was architectured. Probably it made sense then in the early 2000s to pursue these entities. But right now, these entities provide multiple sites of micro-corruption. They provide multiple sites of deploying wrong people into the boards. And the way in which they've been run over the years, they've introduced a governance structural problem in the city of Joburg. By the way, the one thing that they introduced, and which is a frustration, I suppose, is that as a politician, as a mayor of the city of Joburg, there are instances where you can't, with full conviction, account for certain things because these entities sometimes become a law unto themselves because they'll say they've got a board, they've got an executive. So yes, over time, you need to dissolve these entities into the city of Johannesburg, and you need to probably think of a different path forward for a city as big as this one. Perhaps you need one entity that would probably be the Johannesburg Investment Company, that would rally then, of course, both the resource management and asset management of the assets of the city, and then of probably putting it in a pot where you've got a blended way of investment with the private sector. But definitely the entities as they are being run, they make absolutely no sense. But I do think the last thing I want to say on this, particularly about city power, you need a strong relationship with Eskom, because Joburg is one of those cities where there's an intersection of all the spheres of government in one place. So as much as you may say the city is responsible for certain things, Eskom is responsible for certain things, you need a good relationship also with the Minister of Energy and Electricity.
I'm going to ask you a question that you would ask if you were sitting in my chair. Would you consider a coalition, and is there any party you wouldn't go into a coalition with?
Personally, I do feel that, a coalition with the Patriotic Alliance would be very difficult to pursue. My belief is that the ANC has to be the one that makes a case why it must be considered for a coalition after, running this city to the ground. But insofar as other parties are concerned, I do think that there must be an instance where we sit around the table, we see what political parties have to offer, firstly at a leadership level, secondly at a policy proposition, and thirdly at the level of seriousness and commitment to be part and parcel of the cleaning up of Johannesburg, and not being dilly-dallying on some of the key elements that need to be undertaken within a short space of time.
Oh, interesting stuff, Lukhona. Thank you so much. Good to chat to you on 702. Lukhona Mnguni is the Johannesburg mayoral candidate for Rise Mzansi, and we'll be bringing you all the different candidates over the next couple of months so you can take an informed decision about who your next mayor is going to be.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.